Hi guys, it's Sandra here from Create in Spain again. A lot of videos, excuse me, I shiver. A lot of videos I've done lately have been on the polymer stamp making, and they do seem to be popular. People seem to be very interested in this. Lots of people have inquired where they can get the polymer, and I have tried to the best of my ability to answer that question and sort that out. There is a separate video which is polymer stamp making supplies, and if you manage to find the polymer, please put a message under there because other people are looking, and if they're having difficulty finding it, it will help everyone else, so that would be great. Now today I thought if people are going to actually start trying to do this, it would make a lot of sense if I created a trial sample file that I know works, and so that you can try out and hopefully work out your own timings. As I've said before, timings will vary according to the design, the line thickness, the temperature in your house, and obviously that affects the temperature of the liquid, and it does have a big effect on that. I'll tell you more about that later. So I thought if I give you a guide file and my guide times, you'll have something to start off with, even if you adjust it for your own purposes, okay? Now, this is the one that I've done. It's a very simple outline heart, and I don't know if you can tell. I've made the stamp and it's currently curing under my lamp, doing its final cure. But I don't know if you can tell, the actual outline of the heart itself has been completely dried off by the curing, and there is a little raised globule of liquid in the center and around the edges. This is what it should look like when you take your stamp, your gel away, when you peel the layers away, okay? That's what it should look like. It shouldn't be completely dry. If that is completely dry, then you have overexposed and your stamp's not going to come out very well. If there was a layer of goo all the way across here and you couldn't even see the outside lines, then it's underexposed, okay? But this one, I happen to know because I've already washed it off, is perfect. Now, what I've done this time, because I know supplies are difficult to get hold of, not everyone can get the same things, I have used to make my template. Peel this off. You see, this is how clean it is now. I don't even have to get my fingers messy to do this. This is just sticky back plastic, the sort that you cover books with, okay? And I can throw that away. This is 150 GSM black card, normal cheapy black card, and I just cut the heart from that. I kiss cut it on one of the plastic folders. I've mentioned those in the supplies. I just buy plastic letter folders and cut them up, and that's fine, they're cheap enough to use. And I kiss cut this on that. Now the proviso for this is that you spray the back of your card with hairspray and let it dry, because I found that if you don't do that, it's very difficult to get a clear weed on it. You'll find with most card, black card anyway, if you try and kiss cut it and it's got adhesive on here to obviously make it stick, if you try and kiss cut it without spraying the back with hairspray, or I guess you could probably use a clear lacquer if you haven't got hairspray, but if you've got a spray can of lacquer, you could use that. Let it dry. If you don't do that, then weeding this becomes a big problem because you end up with black fuzz in the hole, and that's obviously not very good for your image. Okay, so I have used paper, used that, used the sticky back plastic, so everything that I've used there should be generally available. It shouldn't be a problem to get hold of it. The file itself I will link down below. It's obviously a very simple shape, but the reason I chose this is because the line is even. I made it in Shortcut slot, got the heart, just put a 0.15 centimetre shadow on it. See, I've got the details here. The heart was 3 centimetres by 2.572 centimetres. I applied a shadow of 0.15 centimetres, so that means that line is 0.15 centimetres wide, and it's that wide all the way around, and that is very important. When you're making your first stamps, if you can get this to work with nice even lines, then you can start doing the more complicated stuff where some lines are thicker, some lines are thinner, and so on and so forth. If you can get it to work for this, the timing will work for most of the stamps you are likely to make, except for ones where, for example, if you didn't have that middle black heart, if you had the whole lot, your timings would be much shorter. But for most of it, you'll find that that timing is pretty good. If you have very, very fine lines, you might have to increase the timing on the second exposure. You might. You may not, but you might. Now, I use my iPhone to time things, and I have an app called Clear Timer. So that's what I'm using, and I'm assuming that it's accurate. I don't know, I'm assuming it is, but that's the timer I use. On the back of my image, I used 1 minute. For the front of it, that's going to go through this, I used 2 minutes 30 seconds. That's 2.5 minutes. Okay, now I'm going to remove my stamp, which is still on its backing at the moment, and show you the stamp. I got a little bubble in there, but I wasn't fussed because that's not part of the stamp that I'm going to make. And you can see that that stamp is nicely cured. But you can see that the edges have got depth to them, hopefully. And it's nice and clear. And it's not on the outside edge, it's not sort of at an angle like this. It is pretty much going straight down. So it's not overexposed. If that was drawing out a lot to here, then it would have been overexposed, but it doesn't appear to be. So that's going to work just fine. So that is my trial sample. Okay, if you're going to start this, I suggest you have a go at this one. And if I were you, I would just cut out half a dozen of these, because you may not get it right the first time. You may have to tweak the timings a little bit. In my craft room, it's pretty chilly. I mean, I've had the heater on this morning, it's brought it up a little bit. But I would guess that my craft room is probably only about 12 degrees Celsius for most of the time. I only ever put the heater on when I'm in here because it's just a fan heater. So my gel is pretty cold. If you're working in a much warmer climate, then your timings will probably be shorter. I've got my gel in my old shampoo container, and what I did the other day as an experiment, I just took my heat gun and just for a few seconds I just generally warmed the area around here, and that made a big difference to the exposure time. So, you know, that shortened the exposure time considerably, so that something like this would have actually been overexposed if I'd have used the same timing. It would have been about 15 seconds shorter that I needed to do. So that is how much this actually affects it. You know, I didn't spend ages putting the heat gun on here. It was just for a few seconds, and I just sort of waved it in the general direction of, but obviously it did make a big difference. So the temperature makes a great difference to your end timings, okay? Just so you know. So I would suggest cutting half a dozen of these out, trying with the timing that I've given you just to start off with, and then seeing how you go. At least with something of this size, you haven't spent a half hour weeding it. You haven't spent ages designing it. It's usable when it's actually done. If you get it to do it successfully, it's perfectly usable for all sorts of occasions, Valentine's Day coming up, for example. And it's so small, it isn't going to take more than about a tablespoon of gel. So you can do quite a few of these without using up all your supplies. Please do not do a full 10 centimetre square thing before you know what your timings are, because you'll just end up wasting too much gel to do that. Okay, so that's it for this morning. If you're going to try this out, I hope you're successful and I hope you have fun doing it. And I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.